Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're all doing well this Sunday morning. Big transfer news updates for you, lots to discuss. As always, as Erik ten Hag looks to make his first signing, which isn't an Ajax player and it's not Calvin Phillips, it's a Dutch left-back. We'll be looking at that, coming from very good Dutch sources as well. Also, Wan-Bissaka, the latest on Wan-Bissaka, we've got that for you as well as a bit of controversy around this race for 6th that some fans don't want. Should we? I think I upset a few people yesterday. Good. When I said I don't think we should be playing the youth, we should be prioritising 6th place. But I want to start off on something quite serious and just say that, look, obviously yesterday we did get the definite confirmation of the passing of football agent Mino Raiola. Manchester United fans have had quite a relationship with him over the last 10 years, certainly. I remember, I think Sir Alex Ferguson called him a shithouse or something like that. I've certainly called him an arse. And look, I think some people want to bring these comments up like you knew he was going to die at 54. The reality is, I described him as a pantomime villain. His job for his clients was very, very good. What his job towards us as fans and our clubs wasn't so good because he was focused on the players. But that was his job. There are many people doing many jobs, whether it's MPs, ex-players, media that we slate, and it doesn't mean that we want them to pass at 54. So the first thing I want to say on behalf of our community is it's very sad news, and rest in peace to Mino Raiola with all of my heart, because there's no part of me that would wish ill will on anybody in that sense. We all play the game of life and we enjoy it, and people come along who create tension, passion in this game that we love, and I think Mino Raiola definitely did do that. But it's very sad when a man passes away at 54, and I and I know the good people in our community will be feeling, we're sending our thoughts to his fans and family, and people like Paul Pogba, who is a Manchester United player and obviously will be very cut up about this. So I am really sad to hear that news. I suppose the question is, does that mean Paul Pogba will stay at Manchester United? I've heard a lot of people talking about it. It does feel a little bit soon to be talking about that. I mean, he literally only died less than 24 hours ago. You've got to let that process obviously go through. Having said that, I read an article today where there was sort of an obituary of Mino Raiola talking about his career. I found it very, very interesting. And they said that in the article that his meticulous planning will have meant that he'd known he was ill for a long time, and he will have put things in place that the Erling Haaland deal will be that he leaves Dortmund, and that Paul Pogba will have the best options available for him in the summer to leave Manchester United. So I think Paul Pogba will leave Manchester United, and I think Erling Haaland will leave Borussia Dortmund. I don't think that, by all accounts, this wasn't a sudden passing, that they knew that Mino was ill, and I think that those deals will still go through. And yeah, that's the bottom line on that. I'd be very surprised if it prompted Pogba to stay, and I think it's right on a footballing sense that Paul Pogba parts ways with Manchester United anyway for all parties. So yeah, very sad news in the world of football, which we love, and where you can have pantomime villains and you can disagree and you can criticise. There's very few people in the world of football, which we are all in, who are toxic enough to be racists and wish, real hate on people, or, celebrate the death of somebody. There is the minority. We all know it. We all hear it. We all see them typing away. But the vast majority of people in football are good people and play the game properly. If you perform badly, you will get criticised. If you play well, you will get praise. If you are somebody that does something to our club, like Di Maria, you will be slated as a pantomime villain. It's just the way it works. Akshay, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Right, let's hit the headline here. So, this Ten Hag's first signing. This is really interesting because we're linked to this Feyenoord left back, and I'm going to absolutely get his name wrong. It's Tyrell Malakia. Maybe it's Malachia. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Welcome to Members Club WMCN. But I'm actually going to hold my hand up and say, I can't tell you a lot about this player apart from what I've gone and researched. I know Feyenoord are playing in the Conference League semi-final because Leicester and Roma played in the other one, and I was looking at who's in the other one. I haven't watched any of them really. I've not really kept much of an eye on them. I've seen bits of PSV. I've seen more of Ajax, but I haven't seen lots of Feyenoord, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm not going to pretend that this guy was on my radar. But he's definitely on Manchester United's radar, not because it's coming from a UK outlet. I think it was the Mirror, because it's coming from a Dutch outlet. Now, there are people that we've sort of realised over the last couple of months are very well informed on what's going on in Dutch football, and we saw that around Ten Hag. And yet again, we are seeing those same people talking about this Tyrell left back. His first name's Tyrrell. We'll call him that. From Malasia, not Malakia, says Carl. Okay, I've got his name wrong. Malasia. Okay. So it's Malasia apparently. Tyrrell Malasia, we'll go with that. So Tyrrell Malasia, who is a left back for Feyenoord, this is a priority signing for Erik ten Hag, and this has come out in the last 24 hours. So I think this is really interesting because we'll go into what he's all about in a moment, but we spoke about this at the start of last week. We've been linked to another Ajax player today. I forget the name of them, but we seem to be getting linked to Ajax player after Ajax player after Ajax player. And we spoke about this as a community at the start of last week and said, I actually think there's more chance of us buying one player from Ajax and a couple of, and one player from another club in the Dutch league. Because if you are Pep Guardiola and you go to, you go back to Barcelona and they say, is there any players from Man City you want to take? And he might go, yeah, well, I'll take Phil Foden. But I'd really like to go and get Mason Mount from Chelsea. And I'd like you to try and get me, Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool. They're not Man City players, but Pep knows they're two really good players from the Premier League because he sees them every week. And I think that this is a really interesting thing, whether we get Malacia or not, in the sense that Erik ten Hag knows that league. He knows development. He knows the quality of players in that league. And I think it's more viable for him to not go back to Ajax and try and sign 3 players, but actually go, there's a player from Feyenoord I really like. There's a player from AZ Alkmaar that I really like. And that seems to be what's materialised here. So this Tyrrell Malacia, he's 20 years of age. He's been playing for Feyenoord for the last 4 years, but then the last couple of years he's played over 20 games, so he's established himself as the left back. They are actually in the Europa League Conference semi-final. They're 3-2 up from the first leg against Marseille, so they're doing reasonably well. He's got 3 years left on his contract. He's played for the Dutch national team 3 times. He's 5'7", as I said, quick, good passer of the ball, progressive left back, modern fullback basically. The story is that there is a feeling that United could get him for £20 million. I like the sound of this signing. I've not seen anything about him, but I don't think you necessarily need to, because, and people will go, what are you on about? You can't say it's a good signing if you haven't seen him played. I'm not saying that. Said about Calvin Phillips, every signing we make must be analysed in a fair way from now on, because we've done 9 years of bad signings. But what I like about the sounding of this signing is that he's 20. Ten Hag obviously really thinks there's a good player there. We do need another left back. I'm not in for Brandon Williams at left back because he's right-footed. I don't like this inverted left back thing. I want a left-footed left back, in my opinion. I think Luke Shaw will be here next season. I think Telles, as we all know, needs to go, especially because of his age profile. He's not going to get any better. If you've got Luke Shaw and then you've got this 20-year-old coming in, that's exactly the profile of fullback that we need to bring into this football club. He wouldn't necessarily start straight away, but if you are in the Europa League, maybe he starts those games, maybe he starts the Carabao Cup games, maybe he develops and then he starts pushing Luke Shaw, maybe out of the team, maybe pushing him properly. So I think it's a very clever signing for Manchester United if they can pull it off. So it ticks a lot of boxes for me. On the positive sense, and also it ticks a lot of boxes for me because it's a signing that Erik ten Hag wants, where he's going, this is a player from the Dutch league, I really believe in him. He's not from Ajax, but I've been watching him, I know he's a good player, he's going to be a really good player, let's get hold of him, let's bring him to Manchester United. And yeah, I've not seen him, most of you haven't seen him, but you're putting your trust in the manager, and that's exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about giving the manager ownership of decisions, giving the manager control. We're talking about a player where I would be very positive about that signing, even though I haven't seen him, because we're putting trust in our manager. Now, obviously, the negative, we've got to be, I believe this summer, we've got to be even-handed. We can't start going, yeah, £80 million for Maguire, it's a great deal, and then we look like a bunch of prats 3 years later. What I would say is we don't know much about him. We don't know much about him. We don't know whether Manchester United's too big of a step up for him. So that risk is there. But for 20 million quid, I remember saying it with Dan James a few years ago. For 15 million quid, it's worth going for a player like that. Timber is so good, played really well yesterday, says Lars. Well, so look, if you're tuning in a little bit late, really good Dutch sources, and it's hit the UK press now that Erik ten Hag wants to go for this left back from Feyenoord. His name is Tyrrell Malacia, I think is how you pronounce it. 20 years of age, 20 million quid, 5'7", progressive left back. I mean, obviously 5'7" is quite small for a left back, but the way we're going to play, we shouldn't be tucking our full backs in, getting exposed on the back post anyway. So we're going to play very, very different. So I don't have a problem with a 5'7" fullback, to be honest with you. David Paps says it'd be great to get Timberland because then we can use the nickname Timberland. Yep, Timberland would be getting free Manchester United sponsorship without paying for it. But walking in a winter Timberland, what's his first name? That might work really well. Walking in a what's his first name? It's completely. I'm thinking Orien, but that's Chouamini, isn't it? What's Timber's first name? I've completely forgotten it. Brain blank. Too much last night to drink. Do you see Newcastle as a threat in the near future? Well, they're not a threat now, Fisher Feek, so no. Justin Timberland. Walking in a Justin Timberland. As he tackles Kurt Zuma. Walking in a Justin Timberland. That'll work. Come on. I mean, I don't get involved in chants in the ground. There's brilliant people who sort those out, but that's got a crowd. When you're doing a song for the crowd, there's certain songs that will work, and I think Justin Timberland, walking in a Justin Timberland, that you could do loads of stuff for that. I wouldn't be surprised if we signed him if we did use that, to be fair. Welcome to Members Club, Dantra. But yeah, look, just before we move on, so yeah, Tyrell Malacia, left back from Feyenoord, keep your eye on that deal, could really work. It's Jurian, not Justin. Still works. Walking in a Jurian Timberland. It still works. It's the syllables. So we're linked with this left back from Feyenoord, and what I would say is that in relation to Ajax, I think we might bring a player, and I think Timber is the most likely player because we do need a centre back. We are going to end up signing, I think, Pau Torres, Akanji or Timber. I really want it to be Timber or Pau Torres over Akanji. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, is Robertson taller than this lad? I don't know. I don't know. Tellez goes for 20 million. It's free and value will increase, says Johnny B. Goodwin. I don't think Tellez will go for 20 million. I really don't think Tellez will go for 20 million. I hope he would, but yeah, but I don't think he would. So yeah, I think that with regards to Ajax, we'll probably only buy one player, and maybe it will be Timber. But really interesting development around the left back there, and we'll see what happens with that. I'm quite excited about that. I mean, we're going to talk about Wan-Bissaka now, but I think what many United fans have realised, and I'm sure Rangnick has realised, and Ten Hag will realise, and the recruitment department will realise, is that I think for most of this season we've known we need another striker. We desperately need a holding midfielder. We need another centre-back. We need another attacking player, and they've always been the 4 priority positions. But it's becoming more and more clear that we do need a couple of fullbacks, and Tellez isn't up to it. I thought he played well on Thursday night, but more through effort and desire than actual talent, which we saw against Arsenal. He's just not up to it. And a few times this season, to be fair. And at right back, again, I thought Delot did reasonably well against Chelsea and Arsenal, but there is that question mark of whether he's good enough. You can certainly think of players that you think would be better than Delot. And at Man United, we can't just put up with good enough. We need going to be really, really good. And the same with Wan-Bissaka. So I think we do need fullbacks at United. Whether we get them in this summer or not, I don't know. I don't think we'll sign a left back and a right back, but I wouldn't be opposed to us. It wouldn't if we bought this lad from Feyenoord, or we went and got Spence from Middlesbrough, I wouldn't sit here going that's a waste of money, because it is an area that needs improving. How is it possible to get any worse if we play Garnacho, Hannibal and Fernandes instead of Tevez, Rashford and Bruno, says Carl. And Glenn Walker says, nothing will ever beat the Mourinho Are You Listening Fergie Wonderland version, says Glenn. And joining you after a long time, hope you're doing well. Thoughts on Sangaré from PSV for young CDM and Benaka from AC Milan instead of Calvin Phillips. I think there are good options out there, Pratik, and I'm very excited to see what we do with that. Do you like tomatoes, says Len. I like them in a bolognese. I'm going to come back to your point there, Glenn. He says, not Glenn. Carl says, how is it possible to get any worse if we play Garnacho, Hannibal and Fernandes instead of Tellez, Rashford and Bruno? Look, I didn't put the tweet out. I don't run the United Stand Twitter, but I did retweet it, and it was basically me from the preview last night saying that you can't put young players into this game tomorrow night when we need to win the game. And a lot of people replied, and I love it, and I love what you've just said there, because basically we've created a debate point. And when I do That's Football and we're doing the live polls, my favourite one was Bowen versus Kulusevski, which just stayed on 50% for about 20 minutes. And you've hit on a divisive point there, and I love divisive points where it's a split, because that means people are going to be passionate on either side. So I've got no problem with people saying, I want to play the youth tomorrow night. I've got no problem with having a different opinion to me, full stop, as long as it's not toxic and abusive. And there's no need for that, but you can have a different opinion and not dislike each other. And I've got no problem with people wanting to play young players tomorrow night, but I'll stand by my original point in the preview. And there's a story coming out this morning from a UK outlet that Erik ten Hag is absolutely desperate to avoid being in the Conference League, which is 7th place. He can live with being in the Europa League because it's an opportunity to get into the Champions League. It's more games for him to try players out. But the Conference League would be a nightmare because there's no Champions League at the end of it. It's a bit, it's low-level tournament with a lot of games, and there's not a lot you get out of it. So that's where I'm coming from on this. The Europa League, in contrast to the Conference League, is absolutely huge. And when people are saying, let's play Garnacho, let's play Fernandes, let's play Mabry instead of Telles, Bruno, and, I don't know, Amata or whatever, I'm saying for 2 reasons, that's ridiculous. You are massively risking ending up in the Conference League just to play a few youngsters. And second of all, we're playing Brentford. They've taken 10 points from their last 12 games. They're massively in form. They're playing well. 10 points from their last 12 when they've played Chelsea, Spurs, West Ham and Watford. So Brentford are in form. They're hungry for revenge because they didn't like what happened to them at their place in January. They're going to come and have a go. And then we're going to chuck youngsters in and say, just go and enjoy yourself. What if we get turned over 3-0? The crowd will be toxic. We'll end up in the bloody Conference League. I'm a firm believer that these young players should only be thrown in when the atmosphere is right. Now, last game of the season against Palace, if we've sorted Europa League football out, play the youngsters, don't care. Enjoy yourselves. But the players that have put us in this mess should be the players getting us out of this mess and facing the crowd tomorrow if they fuck it up. So I'm all for playing the youth, but we need a result tomorrow night, and it's unfair to throw young players into a situation which is a pressure environment where if it goes wrong, it will get very toxic. I mean, there's talk of fans walking out in the 73rd minute yesterday. Do you want young players making their debut watching people walk out because they're losing 3-0 to Brentford? That's not the reason they're going to walk out, but they will still be walking out. So I think it's about protecting these young players. I had somebody message me saying, oh, you've been talking about playing some of the young players. I have. But that was for other games. For this game, I wouldn't do it. We've really got an opportunity to pin that. And if we beat Brentford tomorrow, by Brighton and Palace, we might have Europa League confirmed, and then you can play some of the youngsters because there's no pressure. So I want to see the young players playing. I'm actually probably more pro young players than the people who are saying chuck them in tomorrow, because I've seen this all my life. I've seen what happens when you throw a young player into a pressure environment, and I've seen what happens when you put them into a situation where they can be nurtured and under no pressure. And that's why I wouldn't play them tomorrow. And look, I guarantee you Ten Hag doesn't want it to happen, and Rangnick doesn't want it to happen either, because they know the importance of the game tomorrow. Talking of which, we had a really good result yesterday. Wolves, let me just double check this, I don't want to give you false information, but Wolves did lose yesterday to Brighton at home 3-0. So we've got Brighton to play very, very soon, but that's a good result for us because basically we're in 6th place with 55 points. Wolves are on 49 points and they've only got 1 game in hand now. So we're 6 points ahead of Wolves with 3 games to go, and they've got 2 games in hand, 1 game in hand. They've got to play City as well. So I can't see Wolves catching us now. So it's only West Ham we need to worry about. Now, West Ham are 3 points behind us with a game in hand, but West Ham's run-in is obviously quite difficult. They've got Arsenal today, which hopefully, I mean, I don't like saying it, a draw might be a good result for us, but I think they'll lose. Then they've got Norwich, where they may well win. Then they've got Man City, where I don't fancy them there. And then they've got Brighton. So I personally think the maximum points that West Ham can get from their last few games is 7. I don't see them getting any more than 7 points from their last 3 games, which would put them on 59, which means we only need 4 points from our last 3 and we'll finish in 6th. So look, let's see how that works out, but we'll see. 6th is not the Conference League, AL. You are a classic prat. And I'm going to leave that out there for a few seconds. Classic prat. Everybody soak it up for a moment. Classic Pratt. 6th is not the Conference League. It is the Europa League. I don't know. Do your bloody homework. Every bloody year we get somebody coming into the chat with think they're brain of Britain going, it's, you know, they've not done their homework on how the league season works. It's been well known for weeks that 6th place is the Europa League and 7th place is the Conference League, and nothing's going to change that. So get your facts right before you start making yourself out to be a classic Pratt. No, on a serious note, it is not. 6th place cannot and will not be Conference League. It will be the Europa League. So there we see. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, interesting story coming out this morning. Aaron Wan-Bissaka will be given an opportunity by Erik ten Hag. Now, this has caused a bit of a meltdown. People are going, what? He's rubbish. Get rid of him. He's a waste of money. Crystal Palace retain their interest in... Something's buzzing somewhere. It's either a big B or somebody upstairs has got their phone on charge and put it on the floor. It's not about playing the youth for fun. It's about playing them because I think you will make us a better side. About pressure, one word, Makeda, says Carl Whitzel. Carl, right, you've turned into a classic Pratt now. You've not listened to anything I said, have you? You've basically gone blah, 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 my opinion's right. So Carl's saying it's not about playing the youth for fun. It's about playing them because I think they will make us a better side. So you're going to give basically 3 players their debut tomorrow night in a massive game because you think they're good enough to do it. I've never heard such bollocks in all my life. And as for Makeda, can you look at the team he was playing in? Because that is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Makeda did not start for Manchester United in a bag of shit, worst ever Premier League side. And that's the sentence for me. You want to put, Carl and others want to put 3 young United players in a massive game for us against a very good Brentford side, making effectively their debuts in a very toxic environment at the moment. And he thinks that that's really a good idea to play them in a team which is factually the worst Man United Premier League side in history. I want to see these young players play. I just don't want to throw them to the wolves or throw them in the deep end. I want them to be... Because I've seen it with the class of 92. I've seen it with Rashford. I've seen it with Greenwood. Their development, whilst under certain managers, I didn't think they were great at it, but certainly under Sir Alex with the class of 92... Class of 92 were bred into that team gradually with big players around them. You've got to look after these youth players because their careers can sink if you throw them into bad environments. So look, Carl, you're not going to convince me. I'm not going to convince you. But you can't just say they're good enough. Based on what? How are they good enough? Have you seen them play first team football for Manchester United? You've seen them play youth football. Oh, they're good enough though. They're good enough. You're guessing. You are completely guessing, and you can't guess with young players because if you throw them into a bad environment, then you might mess up the rest of their career. You've got to listen to people like Ralph Rangnick and Sir Alex Ferguson and every other manager, Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola. They'll very rarely chuck a young player into a game like tomorrow and say sink or swim because you've got to try and give them the right environment. We need to trust the youngsters. The crowd will back them. It doesn't mean we throw them all in at once, says Humphrey. Well, Humphrey, you make a good point. I think United fans will always back a young player when they're coming on. But remember, there is toxicity around the United at the moment. There are protests going on. There's a planned protest tomorrow. People are not happy with the season. They're not happy with certain players. It's not a good environment, I don't think. But look, I'll guarantee you they won't be starting tomorrow anyway. So we're arguing about absolutely nothing. Let's talk about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka, this story coming out this morning is that he will be part of the plan next season with Erik ten Hag. This has upset some people. I suppose it might not even be a divisive point. I think most people would like to see Wan-Bissaka moved on. Even I would. I don't mind Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's I think it's a shame that he's not been developed. Maybe he never would have been good, but he's certainly not been developed. But Crystal Palace retain interest in Wan-Bissaka. I personally think a loan deal might work, but I think what this story is actually about with Wan-Bissaka is it's logical. I wouldn't be surprised if Wan-Bissaka is at Man United next season for the same reason I think Marcus Rashford will be, Harry Maguire will be, Bruno Fernandes will be. Long term, they might not be players that Ten Hag wants. But short term, because you've got 5 players leaving on free, because you're going to probably sell another 5 players like, your Phil Joneses, your Eric Bays, etc., Your Wan-Bissakas, your Harry Maguires, your Marcus Rashford, your Bruno Fernandes, players that maybe should be sold, you're not going to sell 15 players. And who's going to buy Aaron Wan-Bissaka? We spent £50 million on him not that long ago. No one's going to give you more than 25 if they're going to give you that. So I think he might be unsellable in the summer anyway. So that's maybe why he'll be here. You could loan him. But actually, and this is where I think this story's about, I'd rather keep Wan-Bissaka over Dalot, says Sean Turner. I think defensively he's miles ahead, and I'd fancy Ten Hag getting more out of him. Interesting point from Sean there. Mark, have you seen the rumours of Ronaldo to Madrid? 2 homecomings in 2 years, says Elijah. Yeah, I don't believe that. But we can talk about that in a minute. I think Sean's hit on a point there. Although Sean prefers Wan-Bissaka to Dalot, I don't necessarily agree with that. But Dalot's the easier player to sell. He's younger, and there's always been interest from him. Roma, Mourinho likes him. So I think when you look at the situation and where this story might be coming from, that Wan-Bissaka could be here next year, is that there's probably a fair conversation to say that neither Dalot or Wan-Bissaka are the right back for Man United going forward. So you sit there with Rangnick, Ten Hag, Murta and everybody, and you go, what do we do then? If we can't sell both of them because we haven't even got a right back if they go, who's ready. Yeah, there's good young players like Ethan Laird, and maybe Brandon Williams could be moved to the right, which I think is what he should do. But they're massive risks. And also, you can't have 2 young players as your right backs. You know, you need rotation. So you've got to keep one of them and then hopefully bring somebody else in who's better than them, who takes their place, and they're a backup for a year, and then you get rid of them. You've got to probably keep one of them. We might keep both of them, but you've got to keep one of them. Which is the better one to get rid of? Well, if you don't think either of them are long-term good enough anyway, Dalot's the better one to get rid of this summer, because there's a market for Dalot. You could get 20 million quid for Dalot. There's a market for Dalot. There's not a market for Wan-Bissaka. So maybe Dalot goes to allow a new player to come in. Wan-Bissaka stays for another year, and then you do what you do with Wan-Bissaka in a year's time. Personally, I think Dalot's the better option, so I'd rather see Wan-Bissaka go, maybe on loan. But I think what's happening here is that we're not going to lose both of them, are we? Andy and Bruno says, Mark, I've been around long enough to agree with you. You don't put the kids into this team. Even Rooney and Ronaldo get given chances in a class team. Says Andy and Bruno. And to be fair, Rashford was thrown in versus Arsenal. I'd play just Hannibal or Garnacho. I respect your opinion, though, says Daniel Kirk. Yeah, well, Rashford didn't get thrown in against Arsenal. Rashford got thrown in a Europa League tie because we had nobody else left. That's a completely different thing, and I do agree with you on that, Daniel. And I don't mind one of them starting, but this conversation is about throwing the youth in. Well, throwing the youth in, everyone's been talking about 3 or 4 players. Absolutely not. Would I start one player? Maybe. But remember, Alanga is a youth player. Fair play that he's not in the conversation anymore, but he is. Is there any truth in the De Jong stories or possible swap deal with Tellez, says James? No. De Jong stories completely can go to bed now. They're not true. They never were true. It was a complete distraction, as I said yesterday on the preview show, and I'm very happy that that's all over. I like this tweet. I like this super chat from Lol. He says, I hope the news of Fletcher sharing responsibility of recruiting isn't true. I was going to bring this in, and thank you very much for reminding me of that. Thank you for everyone who's joined the Members Club, by the way. Remember, we've got exclusive video content for you. Our latest video is about Darwin Núñez. We've done one on Timber. We've done one on Anthony, analysing those players and their suitability for Manchester United. If you want to join the Members Club, you can click the link at the top of the chat, or you can just click the join button. Thank you very much for your support. And if you are already a member, make sure you check those videos out. Really curious as to why Pogba hasn't announced that he's leaving like Matic, says Robin's sidekick. Because I think Pogba's waiting to... Matic probably knows he's got an opportunity to go somewhere. I would imagine Matic knows where he's going. Pogba doesn't know where he's going. So, imagine if he says, I'm leaving you cow. And then he comes back, he gets to the end of June and the offers aren't as good as the United one. I'm back. What about Max Aarons at Norwich, says Toxic? I do like Max Aarons at Norwich, but I think... I don't know what his contract situation is. Max Aarons needs to leave Norwich, otherwise he's going to get giddy from going up and down and up and down. Like he's going to get travel sickness. But he is a player that United have looked at before. But I don't think we're looking at him at the moment. But having said that, we might look at him. The situation with the right back is that we haven't decided whether we're buying a right back yet. So that's what the update with Spence was, with Lamptey, with Max Aarons, with any other right back. United haven't decided whether they want a right back yet. And remember, Eric Ten Hag isn't in post yet. Mr. Seven, welcome to the Members Club. So let's talk about this. There's a story come out this morning that Darren Fletcher and John Murtagh will take on the responsibilities of Matt Judge, who is obviously resigning, and he's the chief contract negotiator and the chief transfer recruiter. So he would be involved in meeting players, meeting agents, persuading them, etc., etc. There was a story this morning that Darren Fletcher will be involved in this, to which there's the normal division about what Darren Fletcher can do to, entice players to come to this club. Any truth in the rumours of Barca wanting Telles, Maguire, etc. for De Jong? No, James, that's not even a story. I don't know where you've read it, James. So there was an article from Spain basically using Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, Telles as players to get De Jong. There's no truth in this. The story was an opinion piece, and it basically said United would offer Maguire, Telles, Rashford for De Jong. Would. It's a hypothetical. De Jong's not coming. United are after young defenders, but what about Twansebi and especially Mengi? Big potential under Ten Hag. I'd like to think so, Arjun, but ultimately we'll have to wait and see. How many players will leave Man United this season, Mark? I'm going to go for around 10, Ishmael. So look, in relation to Darren Fletcher being involved in the recruitment, well, I suppose you'd say this. He is the technical director. I'd rather Darren Fletcher was involved in recruitment as a technical director than doing keepy-ups on the training ground or before matches. So first of all, Fletcher away from the training ground and the match day is a good thing. He's been recruited as a technical director. I'm baffled by it. I must admit, I've always been baffled by it. I liked Darren Fletcher as a player. From what I know of him as a person, he's a very popular person around the club. Great. But it's never lost on me that 18 months ago he came to the club to do his badges at United as a favour, and then 18 months later he's in a technical director position with no experience at all. Technical director is like being a sporting director. What experience does Darren Fletcher have of recruiting high-level players at a crucial point of United's history? So that's the only thing that concerns me, and it could be Darren Fletcher, Roy Keane, Gary Neville. I'd still say the same thing. What have these ex-players, what's their experience and CV to be speaking to agents and everybody else to get them into this football club? But on the other side, and there's always another side, Darren Fletcher was involved in the interview to bring Ralph Rangnick in as an interim. Darren Fletcher was involved in the interview to give Erik Ten Hag a job. So, look, maybe he's fast-track learning. But I think the negativity probably comes from the concern about his lack of a CV, which is fair enough. And also, I think some people think, well, bloody Darren Fletcher there sitting in front of an Ajax player saying, come to United. They'll probably won't even know who he is. But I think we need to get that out of our head. We're not using Darren Fletcher like Barcelona might use Lionel Messi in 20 years as the ambassador to get players to come to the club. Darren Fletcher is a technical director. I think his past as a Man United player is irrelevant. I don't think that's what United are using him for. He's not like, he used to play for, look, it's Darren Fletcher, and everyone goes, who? I'd know, you'd know. I don't think the wider Europe world would remember Darren Fletcher. So I think he's been brought in because they see talent, potential, and I think hopefully that will develop. So I'm not going to be overly critical of Murtagh and Fletcher taking Judge's job because Judge was terrible, and any improvement. It's a bit like Ten Hag next year. It's a massive improvement on Solskjaer. Whether it will be successful or not, I don't know, but it is an improvement. And Murtagh and Fletcher doing the job this summer is a massive improvement from Judge. Any truth in reports about Neves, as I think he would be most likely player we can get? This is Andy and Bruno. I think Neves wants to go to Barcelona, so we'll see. Navesh, welcome to the members club there. And no offence, please, could we all stop and think what type of player we need to play before putting the kids in? Do we go full out for the high press, medium press? What style of play would you suggest, says Jace. Well, next season we'll probably play a very similar system to the way Ajax play, which is about high press, high possession stats, high chance creation. Tomorrow, looking at the way Brentford play, I mean, watch the preview basically. It's on the homepage. Brentford will play with a back five. With two fast forwards, and I think they'll gift up a lot of the possession to us, and they'll try and hit us on the break. I'm comfortable with that. I think Varane, if he's playing, and Lindelof can deal with players on the break. I think Telles and Delot are suited more to going forward. This is why I would play Mata. I think we can have a lot of possession on the edge of their box, and I would probe, and be looking for crosses into the box for Ronaldo. That's how I'd play tomorrow. Let's play a higher line. Ronaldo. Somebody just said about Ronaldo. So there is a story this morning about Ronaldo going back to Real Madrid. It's a very tentative story. Look, we've spoken about Ronaldo leaving United in November, December, January, February, March, April, May. We're in May now, which is exciting. Welcome to May. Welcome to May, which means we're closer to June, which means it starts. So yeah, I'm happy to be in May. April's just get us to the end of this season. Win tomorrow night, I'll feel a lot better. What 8 would you want as a replacement for Pogba? Says Seth. Would you want Milinkovic-Savic? No, there's plenty of 8s out there. I like Lema, I like Tielemans, I like Renato Sanchez. I mean, that's 3 off the top of my head. There'll be loads more. And what I like about, if you're tuning in a little bit late, please smash a like on the video. We are heavily linked now to this left-back, Tyrell Malacia from Feyenoord, which is who Ten Hag wants. Had no idea who he really was 2 days ago. No reason to know who he was 2 days ago. Now I'm thinking, if Erik Ten Hag wants it, I like it. And you know what? In relation to the midfield, I'll bloody love it if in the next 2 weeks I wake up and there's a midfielder I've never really took much notice of that Erik Ten Hag wants. I'd love it not to be Phillips. I'd love it not to be Neves. I'd love it not to be somebody we already know. I'd love it to be players that Erik Ten Hag wants, because those signings are really exciting. And I think this Tyrell lad, if we can get him, I'm all for it, because it's what Ten Hag wants. Ute, thank you very much for becoming a member. Appreciate the support. I'm worried we aren't going to get a CDM. I can see it now. Donny replaced Pogba and Garner replaced Matic. We will get a CDM, Sean. The club know they've got to get a CDM. Everybody knows they've got to get a CDM. We will get one. Well, I say CDM. We might not get a specialist CDM because we might play with 2 midfielders. Maybe he gets Lema and plays Fred and Lema. Maybe he plays Lema and Donny. I don't think that would work, but it depends how he wants to play. You rightly pointed out the other day that the club can't do everything at once, so maybe Fletcher in that role is a stopgap so we can focus on squad recruitment. At least he's familiar with the club. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, Jim Jam. You know, I constantly say this to people. Maybe you don't like Bruno, maybe you don't like Maguire, maybe you don't like De Gea. But they're not problems to solve this summer. Certainly not De Gea and Bruno. They're going to be here next year. We can buy a centre-back this summer. What's the latest with Kane? Posters need updating, says Robert McCormack. Posters? Oh, your whoosh. So Harry Kane fits in well with what we're going to talk about with Ronaldo there. We've spoken every month about Ronaldo leaving United. The most important month to talk about Ronaldo leaving Man United is the end of June, because that's when he'll make his mind up. As I said, Ronaldo's on a 2-year deal. He's got a year left. He's on over 500 grand a week. If somebody comes in and offers him Champions League football and gives us 10 million quid and he wants to go, I think he'll go. You can't stop Ronaldo playing in the Champions League. He's missed the Champions League, and that's United's fault if he goes. I don't know whether somebody's going to come in for Ronaldo. And if they are going to come in, it would have to be a PSG or a Real Madrid. I can't see Real Madrid doing it for 1 year. I don't think Real Madrid fans would love it. I don't think they'll do it. PSG is the only threat as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not sure they'll do it. So Ronaldo may well stay for another year. But there'll be a massive part of Ronaldo that will want to play in the Champions League next year. Absolutely no doubt. It's going to be hard for Ronaldo next season to watch the Champions League and not be in it. He is the guy with the record. He'll know he should be scoring goals in it, adding to that record, competing for that title. So that's going to play on Ronaldo's mind, but I can't see it happening unless somebody comes in. In relation to Harry Kane, I can't see United buying Harry Kane because I don't think it makes sense for Man United to buy Harry Kane. We're not in the Champions League. He'd cost over £100 million. We need 5 or 6 players. If you spend £100 million on one player, you're not buying 5 or 6. It's not a proper rebuild. If Ronaldo's staying, why would you go for Kane? And then the biggest question of all is, why would Harry Kane come to Manchester United? I'd be very worried about Harry Kane coming to Manchester United. Spurs are going to finish above us. If Conte stays, Spurs are probably in a better position than us next season. They will buy players in the summer. But having said that, if Conte leaves, they'd probably get Poch back. Look, never say never, but I don't think the Kane signing makes as much sense as it maybe did a couple of months ago when we had a chance of Champions League football. Our only hope to keep Ronaldo is that he'd want to win the Europa League. Then he'd only need a World Cup with Portugal to complete his collection, says Andy and Bruno. Yeah, I think he'd rather keep adding goals to his Champions League. Is your future exclusively for members, Mark, says Tabrez? No. So if you join the members club, you get your badge next to your name. We have got exclusive content, but as you'll know, we've been doing exclusive content for our members now for the last 3 weeks. That will continue. But as you will also notice, nothing has changed on the main channel. You still get the morning show, afternoon shows, evening shows, watch-alongs, previews. So nothing is going to change for everybody who watches this channel. It's just a way to support the channel and for us to give you something back extra. Isn't Renato Sanchez a relegated Swansea bench warmer, says Davo? In your head, yes. For me, he's a player that I think could do a job in the Premier League. I don't think we'll be looking to do that job. And what I would say about Renato Sanchez is I don't see a big queue of people trying to sign Renato Sanchez. So maybe look, I don't think we're going to get Renato Sanchez. I like Lema. I do like Lema. I really do like Lema. And as an Austrian manager is now Ralf Rangnick. Leipzig connections, Ralf Rangnick. Leipzig player Lema. I'd welcome him at the club. Lema at Man United would bring something in that we really need. He is a box-to-box player. He's not a holding midfielder. He's tenacious. He's relentless. He's good on the ball. And as for the next couple of years, I'm not saying he's good enough to play for Man City or Liverpool, but we're not competing with Man City and Liverpool for the next 2 years. I think he'd be a good player to bring in. I can see Ronaldo wanting to break records in the Europa, says Ozzy. And welcome to the Members Club, Oliver. If Ronaldo loved United as much as he says, he would surely want to stay to help us back to the top under Erik ten Hag. Surely that more satisfying than the Champions League. Maybe, we're all speculating, Jim Jam. I don't think we should speculate negatively because maybe he has got that mindset. I don't know. I think the only concern with Ronaldo is if a PSG comes in and says, we want you, we'll give you the wages, and we're in the Champions League, and we want to win it, come to PSG. If that offer's there, he might have something to think about. There's a World Cup that's like a mini Champions League. I don't think Ronaldo will mind missing out 1 year. Just don't play him in Europa League, says Sir Nigel Farage. And I think that's a great point as well. If you're Cristiano Ronaldo, the World Cup preparation, the season starts in August, and in the middle of November, so basically 3 months later, there's a World Cup. And then you come back at the end of December, and then 4 months, and then the season's over again. It's a very unique season. Ronaldo's priority will be his last World Cup, I agree. Does Ronaldo want to disrupt his family, his life, and everything else to go somewhere brand new to prove everyone wrong again? Or does he want to keep a steady preparation ahead of the World Cup? And remember, Man United in the Europa League, for Ronaldo, under Ten Hag, might be, look, I'm going to give you everything for this year, but I'm absolutely on board in these next 3 months if you don't play me twice a week, because I'm thinking about the World Cup. You're thinking about developing your new striker, and we can work together and have a really good season. So that's something I've not heard anybody talk about. I think it's a great point. Ronaldo and United might work really well next season with that World Cup. If we bring a new striker in, it could work really, really well. And of course, last of all, there is stories that I'm bored of these stories. I mean, there was stories from about 3 or 4 journalists last night about Cavani's future. Get out! Couldn't give a shite. Not bothered. Don't care whether he's going to Boca Juniors or the Dog and Duck. He's gone. He's out. He's hardly played for us this season. I'd love him to play in the next 3 games and help us win, but he's gone. Breaking news. Couldn't give a shit news. Slow Sparks news. I don't care where Cavani's going. Not bothered. I mean, he's not been here for the last 3 or 4 months anyway. Get him on the pitch tomorrow night if he's fit. He'll give 100%. Hopefully he'll get a winner. At least we get something out of the last 4 months. But I couldn't give a shit where he's going. I remember patron days where there was 12 of us, says Robert McCormack. And some nice kit numbers free for next season. 6, 8, 9, 11, maybe 7, says Spencer. We'll see. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We have got the 8 o'clock show tonight, Forum tonight. Ricky's on, and we've got lots to discuss, of course. Bank holiday Monday in the UK, so that wouldn't normally make, well, it doesn't make any difference actually. It's still an 8 o'clock kickoff tomorrow, but it is a bank holiday tomorrow. It's a match day tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. I think I quite like the way it's worked out actually. I wasn't a big fan of us playing Chelsea on Thursday, but I was very happy with the point. And the great thing about this weekend is we get to see everybody play. And obviously Wolves dropped points yesterday, which was good for us. And hopefully West Ham will drop some points today. I'm not doing an Arsenal watch-along, Charlie, because West Ham are putting their reserves out. I'm not going to do a Spurs watch-along because Leicester are putting their reserves out. I expect a Spurs win and I expect a positive result for Arsenal. I mean, I've got better things to do this afternoon. I'm going to have a barbecue. Go and build a tree house or something. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back at 8 o'clock unless something big happens this afternoon, which I doubt it will. And we'll see you, of course, at 8 o'clock. Have a great day, evening, morning, whatever you're up to, all around the world. All around the world. Gotta spread the word. Tell them what you heard. Gonna make a better day. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching.